We have some big news coming in, viewers. The fragile peace between US and Iran appears to have collapsed just weeks after an interim understanding was reached to halt the hostilities in West Asia. US President Donald Trump has now declared that the agreement is effectively quote-unquote over. Speaking ahead of the NATO summit in Ankara, Trump said that he no longer wants to engage with Tehran, describing the Iranian leadership in unusually harsh terms and dismissing any possibility of further negotiations. His remarks came after Iran launched fresh strikes on US military bases in Bahrain and Kuwait, saying the attacks were retaliation for recent American strikes on Iranian targets. And those US strikes had followed attacks on commercial tankers in the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. The latest exchange has sharply escalated tensions, dealing a major blow to hopes of turning last month's interim ceasefire into a permanent peace agreement. The fallout is already being felt far beyond West Asia. Fears of a wider regional conflict have pushed global crude oil prices to a two-week high, raising concerns over disruptions to energy supplies through the Gulf. The impact has also rattled financial markets. India's stock market witnessed a sharp sell-off, with the Sensex plunging nearly 1,500 points and Nifty slipping below the 24,000 mark as investors reacted to rising geopolitical tensions and fears of higher energy costs. Trump's latest remarks now signal a significant hardening of Washington's position by declaring the Iran understanding as over and ruling out further engagement. The chances of diplomacy appear to be fading rapidly.
As far as I'm concerned, to me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. To me...
Viewers, the big questions now are, is the West Asia region heading towards another prolonged conflict? Will rising oil prices fuel fresh inflationary pressures across the world? And could this geopolitical escalation trigger even greater volatility in global and Indian financial markets? We have Verghese joining us live. Verghese, your first reaction to Donald Trump saying the MOU is effectively over.
Well, the big question that we'll be asking is how this is going to affect the world economy in a larger sense, and how it's going to affect the Indian economy as well. We had just ensured that all our tankers carrying crude oil as well as gas from the Middle East nations, in which we in fact been sourcing energy, just reached our ports. We've just been having that kind of a stabilization, and then you have this announcement coming in. Now, the United States President Donald Trump has made this announcement at a very key point. That is, he was attending the NATO meet, and that is where this particular statement was made. He went on to say that the MOU is over, and this has resulted in the United States striking Iranian assets in Bandar Abbas as well as the other major oil producing sites as well, and also on key strategic positions as well. Now, Iran has responded to this. They have launched attacks on Kuwait and Bahrain. They have responded to this. And when we earlier came to know that there were explosions in Bahrain that were reported, the speculation was there that whether this particular peace deal that the United States has been pushing for was over. Interestingly enough, though Trump has said that the peace deal is over, he said that he's kept the window for negotiations to continue. Now, that means the talks would continue, but the big question here is who is actually defining the momentum of talk? Because it seems that the United States does come across and say that the peace deal is ready, they would be signing it, and then suddenly something seems to be scuttling it. So who is actually negotiating the peace deal? Are the people who are actually putting this commitment towards the United States on whether they will go ahead and sign the peace deal, whether they're able to meet that commitment or not is the question. So is the United States actually speaking to the right people, or is there some kind of a power game that is happening within the administrative structure of Iran? We know that the IRGC has in fact taken over most of the administration as well as with its military roles as well. So is the IRGC actually scuttling the talks is also a question that we should be looking at. Now, this is one of the speculations that is there. The other question is where is it in fact hitting a stone wall? Is it with regard to the Iranians not giving a commitment on their nuclear program? The United States wants Iran to ensure that their nuclear program is completely shut, and they would be in fact being compensated for it as and when the war ends, and they would be looking at ensuring that the economy of Iran is more then connected with the global economy because of the removal of sanctions that the United States can in fact facilitate. However, after have said all this, is the sticking point or is the stickler the uranium enrichment process itself is something that we need to know, because Iran had been saying that they are not going to hand over that uranium, which is one of those conditions that the Americans had put in, but they would rather go ahead and dilute the enrichment capacity of it. On the other side, there have been intelligence reports coming in and also reports from the ground coming in that the Iranians have been able to build back their military capacities in certain places, that is to say with regards to the drones and probably even missiles. So if that has happened, then are the Iranians looking at a long-term pitched battle with the United States? We just saw the naval blockade being removed, and you had the Iranian oil again flowing back into the world market. But the larger question would be is that now with this hostilities back in place, will the blockade come back in place? Now, the most important question of all,
I'm really sorry to interrupt you here. We're running short of time, but Verghese, you know, as far as the market reaction is concerned, now Sensex down, Nifty down, how much of this is, you know, genuine and how much of this is, you know, a response to the panic that has been created by Donald Trump?
As of now, what we understand is this could be a response to the panic, because we have seen what problem with Hormuz could do. So it looks like there's a response from the market with regards to what could happen with Hormuz again, because now the question is who is going to keep Hormuz open, and will the ships passing through Hormuz again be subjected to strikes from the Iranians? And if the US is going for a blockade, then will those ships come under the scrutiny of the Americans as well? So it's again a big question mark on Hormuz. Trade across Hormuz is going to be one of the key factors, and therefore we who are dependent for a certain percentage when it comes to energy on the West Asian region is a cause of concern, and that is why you would see this kind of a panic situation that you would see in the market. But on the longer run, one thing that, Deepak, we must understand is that India has gone ahead and diversified a much more resilient kind of an energy import approach, and therefore we are slowly or rather steadily moving towards a direction in which our oil energy partners or our energy partners are going to be highly diversified when it comes to such situations, so that the people of the country could be in fact protected when it comes to the shocks that could emerge of when such geopolitical situations and wars emerge. So that is something that we are looking at, and probably some of those policies could be in place to absorb the current shock as well. But however, all said and done, the big rather question would be is that we have a larger diaspora population in the Middle East region. Most of those countries, especially when it comes to Kuwait or Bahrain, there are large Indian expat population that we are looking at being in that place. So those concerns
and people who returned home
have
just, you know, returned back to West Asia, hoping that there could be lasting peace. But Donald Trump is very unpredictable, Verghese. You know, on one moment he says that there will be lasting peace in West Asia, and on the other, the very next day he comes out and says it's over. So we'll have to wait and watch, because that's all we can do right now, wait and watch on what really happens in West Asia.